Welcome back to First Move. JP Morgan warning Brent crude oil could hit $125 a barrel next year, $150 in 2023. This comes ahead of an OPEC Plus meeting later this week. And as concerns rise over energy prices, one company is investing for a green hydrogen future. Snam, Europe's largest gas pipeline operator, announcing a multi-billion-dollar investment plan to get its infrastructure ready for hydrogen. Joining us now is Snam CEO Marco Alverà. Marco, great to have you on the show. I know you're going to talk to me about your investment plans, but one thing leapt out at me, and this was that the company sees an investment opportunity of 23 billion euros through 2030. And I like the idea of thinking about renewable energy as an opportunity rather than a cost. Talk to me about this, first and foremost.
That's exactly right, Julian. Thanks for having me. The numbers you mentioned just earlier about the oil price expectation to go up, even if we take today's oil price, we can make solar energy several times cheaper. But the magic of hydrogen is to blend that cheaper energy and turn it into a molecule. So it's kind of making everyone happy, delivering cheaper energy that the oil companies like, that the renewable companies like, and that will create new jobs. So it's about cheaper, cleaner energy.
Okay, you're a prolific author too, and my viewer needs to understand this, and you're a proponent of green hydrogen use in the future. And in the time that you've been writing, and this comes out in the books that you've written, the cost, as you point out, has dramatically collapsed. And I'm quoting you from a previous interview that you did, but I want to get your insights, or deeper insights. $1,000 per megawatt hour to potentially $25 by the end of this decade. And that's according to the US climate czar, John Kerry, if he's correct. And at that point, we're talking about green hydrogen being comparable to coal prices. That blows my mind. Is that really possible?
Thank you, Julia. That is spot on. So I now had to publish my third book in 3 years because it cost.
Because I'm catching up. Yes.
I'm always catching up. So we came up with this view that was to say, how do we squeeze the cost of the electrolyzer? The electrolyzer is the equipment that you need to turn water, which is H2O, and solar or wind energy, which is electricity. You use the electricity to split the water into oxygen and hydrogen. Now, we all know that wind and solar are coming down in costs on their own merit, and this is mainly due to the production capabilities of China and the competition on the supply side, really streamlining that cost curve. And every week the costs are coming down further. But the electrolyzer is something that no one has really looked at and invested in because it's a tiny, very niche market. So we've interviewed all the manufacturers of this equipment and asked them, how much capacity do you need to bring the cost down? Like what's happening with the batteries in car manufacturing. And we've come to a number that says if the world builds 25 gigawatts of global electrolyzers, then the cost goes down to 50 euros a megawatt hour in the next 5 years. And then it competes with oil. Then it becomes cheaper than oil in some applications already in 5 years. And if you stretch that further, you get exactly to John Kerry's number. And we shared a lot of this work with his team, and we're fully aligned that we can get to $25 a megawatt hour before the end of the decade. And that's the only way, really, we can get China and India to stop building new coal plants.
Oh, and that is exactly where I was going to take you next, because if you make the economics work and it literally becomes equal to, in terms of cost, to use oil or coal as it is to use renewable energies, then why wouldn't you be greener if you can? And get India and China on board and you change the game completely. It's how you're shifting your investment to invest in electrolyzers, as you've said, but it obviously has to be on a greater scale than just you. Does everybody understand this? Because clearly if we're talking about the US climate envoy saying to you, hey, we can get this down to $25 per megawatt hour, then the US is surely on board too. Has the investment followed, or at least the investment intention followed?
So the investment intention is absolutely there. And I think at Glasgow, this alliance, the GFANZ, there's $130 trillion that are waiting to be invested in projects. And there's $150 trillion between now and 2050 of investment needs. So we have the needs and we have the capital. What's missing right now is that gap between the intention and reality is widening. We need projects built fast. And that is what Snam intends to do, to position the company as a real leader in this new green ambition to create green gases and green molecules. And this will really lower the cost curve because we get to 25 by 2030. but the cost will continue to fall. And now some analysts at Bloomberg say we can get to $12 by 2040, 2050. So the point, as you made, is to deliver much cheaper energy, which is greener and creates jobs and makes everyone happy.
And I think what the viewer also needs to understand when we're talking about your business specifically, I mean, you have the pipelines and you're transporting natural gas. And the beauty of this is those pipelines can transport hydrogen. So the infrastructure's there. It comes down to literally the splitting of the water molecules to produce hydrogen and oxygen, which is what we're talking about with the electrolyzers. But the infrastructure for the pipelines, at least, we can utilize the infrastructure that we already have. What about storage?
Thank you so much for raising this. This is a key point. Storage is the least understood challenge and opportunity of the energy transition. The beauty of this hydrogen, and it doesn't matter if it's blue or green, because H2 is going to be the same molecule, is that we can, as you say, pipe it in the existing pipes. It's the same quality steel, but we can store it in the existing natural gas storage that can be converted. And we've announced this yesterday. It was the first time in the world, we believe, that it's a breaking news to say we've tried and tested that we can store 100% hydrogen in the existing natural gas storage, which essentially are depleted fields. These are old gas fields that instead of producing the gas, we use to pump in the gas in the summer when no one really wants the gas because we use it for heating, and pump it out in the winter when it's a lot more expensive. So it's also a tremendous business opportunity.
What response are you having, Marco? Because I know you're out there trying to spread the word. This could be transformative. Is the greatest challenge lack of education? To your earlier point, the connection between the intention to spend money in project-based work. What do you think's the biggest challenge today?
So the biggest challenge is the world has to go from spending $1.5 trillion a year on energy. That's summing up all the utilities, all the oil companies, all the national OPEC oil companies, all the investment funds. We now spend $1.5 trillion. We have to get to $5 trillion a year. So there's going to be huge bottlenecks when it comes to human talent, when it comes to steel, when it comes to equipment. We need equipment in the ground. The good news, as you say, is that a lot of the equipment is there. One of the biggest issues, and I'm so grateful that we're having this conversation in dollars or euros per megawatt hour, is that there's an alphabet soup when it comes to energy. We have barrels in oil in barrels, coal in tons, diesel in gallons, natural gas in MBCF, pence per therm, British thermal units. It's very hard to compare. So we should move, and I'm on a mission to convince people to move everything to megawatt hours so that we can finally compare the green, the blue, the coal, the oil. What's really missing is more conversations like this. So I'm now going to Harvard University, to Columbia later today, to the Atlantic Council. We need to have many more conversations like this to people realize it's really the biggest investment opportunity that I've ever seen.
You know, we've run out of time, but you also have 20 years experience in the oil and gas industry, and I want to talk to you. So come back soon, please, and talk to me about potential resistance, because as one of the most heavily subsidized still industries in the world, getting them on board is interesting too, and I'm sure they're shocked by the price collapse that we've seen. Marco, great to have you on the show. Thank you so much, and thank you also, because I knew one day my physics A-level would come in. Yay. Marco Alverà, CEO of Snam. Great to chat to you, sir. Thank you.